terms of doing journalism generally, and particularly journalists wanting to do investigative journalism in Malaysia, they face problems that are common to the region generally. Kind of the core root of a lot of the problems are legislative. There are any number of bits of legislation that are used to discipline and control the press, journalism in Malaysia. So there's the Printing Presses and Publications Act, which essentially locks out non-government friendly media from the press, from the print industry and also from the broadcasting industry. There's the Sedition Act, which is used against various bits or various publications, and notably not against others, such as, for example, Utusan. So journalists are controlled in that respect, and they obviously this kind of general climate promotes a climate of self-censorship. Journalists know that they can get in trouble, their organisation can get in trouble if they do something that is seen as problematic. So recently the Heat lost or had its licence suspended, arguably, or people were very suspicious that it was due to running a front page story that was criticising spending by the Prime Minister and his wife. In terms of getting past these issues, the huge problem that a lot of the alternative media in Malaysia face, a lot of them are online, a lot of the rest of them are weekly publications or sometimes even bi-weekly publications as opposed to daily newspapers. So revenue is a huge problem, quite beyond the kind of danger of reporting in terms of kind of losing your job. There's not so much violence against journalists in Malaysia, but certainly there's the fear of losing your job, of getting your organisation in trouble, which obviously affects your life hugely. The money issue, in terms of kind of funding journalism and particularly getting the kind of funding that's required to do investigative journalism, which is time-consuming and expensive. If you're not functioning in the print or the broadcasting industry, you have much less access to advertising expenditure or advertising revenue. Malaysia Kini is one of the few alternative media that have kind of cracked the revenue stream issue through a combination of advertising revenue and through their subscription model for the English component of their site. They are breaking even. They're making enough money to survive and even to slowly grow. A lot of the other media are struggling to keep their heads above water. So in terms of supporting journalism and supporting investigative journalism, quite beyond the general kind of desire for reform in terms of legislation, which will require kind of general political change in society and in government possibly, I think, people need to support journalists. They need to understand that rather than just kind of criticising journalists, to understand that they're working in a very, very difficult environment a lot of the time. Criticise the system, certainly, but picking on journalists is often quite unfair and it's not getting at the root of the problem. So there's that kind of symbolic support. The other component to it is that people need to realise that if they want good news, if they want good journalism, you need to be prepared to pay for it. And if we're all paying for it, it's not very much per person. I mean, a subscription to Malaysia Kini is not hugely expensive. Buying a subscription to one of the weekly newspapers like The Heat, listening to alternative radio stations, various different things, supporting them however you might like to support them through either subscriptions, so paying in the ways that they ask you to pay. A lot of them have various kind of other ways that you can support them. Malaysia Kini had its recent kind of buy a brick campaign to build its new building. But people need to realise that good journalism isn't free, and be prepared to invest a bit of their money and certainly their symbolic support in helping journalists do the kind of jobs and write the kind of news that people would like to see them doing.